I'm back. I'm back after 1 week of not having streamed. Hi. Hello. Hi. This loony deranged researcher has returned back to streaming one more time. Oh man, golly gee. I will say I did miss streaming just a little bit, just a tiny little bit. But now I'm back for this week's stream of absolutely tangible jibber jabbering. I kind of thought today we just kind of do a little bit of a what you call it, a little bit of a chatting stream, as VTubers tend to call it, because I kind of realized that I'm not that great at speaking consistently for various minutes at a time, and so today that is what we're going to do. We are going to jibber jabber. We are going to today we are just going to go on a tangent of lunacy. How is everybody doing today? Actually, how is everybody doing today? How are all my dearest degenerates doing today? Is the music too loud? Am I too loud? How is everything? What do you call it? Oh yeah. I feel like the music is too loud, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I think that's fine. Hi, my dearest degenerates. I hope everything is going absolutely fantabulistic with you. Hope all your tangible, very how do I put it? Very fascinating research is going good. I've been researching into various topics, in fact, both indoors and outdoors. Ooh. A lot of things have happened in this week that I wasn't streaming, so to speak. There was kind of like the normal, like there's kind of like the normal average common thing of me researching things, very interesting things. I've been researching a certain type of anime women, of 2D women. One that is close in line with being called a failure. That I've been doing that. I've also been researching into certain other monster women species as well. Hello, stranger. Music is low enough. Oh, okay. Good. Okay. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been doing fantabulistic, if I must say so. Just kind of researching into the different tangible monster woman species that, quite frankly, don't get talked about nearly enough, because everybody knows cat girls and the like, right? But when have you ever heard anybody mention a giraffe girl? When have you ever heard anybody mention a what was that? Oh, a vulture girl, which is kind of almost like a heartbeat, but not as classy, I guess. I've been keeping busy. Also, I've also have just been what do you call it? Oh yeah, I've been also touching. I've also been touching grass. If you can believe that. I think did I? Yeah, I did a post on Twitter, yeah, about me touching grass. It was very fun. It was very fun. So you call yourself so the voice didn't huh. So you call yourself a researcher, to what extent did I don't know. I don't know, actually. But I mean, that's why I'm a researcher. I just have questions and I research them. That's about all I do. That's about all I do. In that particular, whatever that may be, I haven't done any research, so I'm not sure. What was I going on about? Oh yeah, I touched grass the other day. That was very invigorating. I touched grass for approximately 5.58 seconds. I touched grass for approximately 5.58 seconds, and I must say, I feel practically the same. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm going to make a video about touching grass later on in the future. Because quite frankly, there are so many people that are quick to say to touch grass that it really makes you ponder. Does touching grass realistically do anything for you? Realistically? Like touching it with your bare hands? Unprotected grass touching? Does it really do anything? Yeah, I'm gonna research that later on in the future, more in depth. Right now, I've just kind of been researching the whole women that are considered failures, if you can figure out which those are. In specific, I don't think you're meant to take it that literally. But then, why don't they just say, go out and see grass? They're saying specifically to touch grass. To touch it with your own bare hands, I'm assuming. Or some part of you, or some part of your body. Skin to grass, skin to foliage, skin to tree bark, skin to dirt, you know? Why don't they just say to go see grass instead then? Why don't they just say to go and share? And why don't they just say to go and share oxygen with people? Because technically when you go outside, you're sharing oxygen with everybody. And technically indoors, if you live with other people. If you live with other people. Honestly though, it's alright. I think it's fine. It was quite pleasant, I'll admit. It's just a term to basically say to go out and spend time in nature. Well, yeah. How in depth you decide to be with nature is a whole nother story. How in depth? When is it? Oh, right. Have any of you been researching anything? I've heard quite a few things that my viewers are researching. Some of which are tantalizing, and others of which are a little unconventional, if you will. I've heard some of my viewers say that they're studying interdimensional breeding. Some that they're studying slime women, species and breeding and what have you. And and just a whole bunch of other things. There's also, I research history and astronomy. Oh, history and astronomy. Oh, okay. I like history and astronomy. I like looking up at the stars just as much as anybody. Oh, admittedly, and I am quite the fecker for history as well. When I wouldn't say I'm a history nerd, as some would say, a history fanatic, if you will. I'm more of a but there are some things that are quite tantalizing. They're quite amazing. Yeah. That I can never get tired of listening. That I can never get tired of researching. Astronomy is cool. Yeah. It is very cool. It is very out of this world, in fact. Gosh. There. I'm becoming scatterbrained again. Oh yes. I was going to say some of my favorite time periods in history, because I do have some favorite time periods in history. Who's Franz Ferdinand? Franz Ferdinand. You know, I distinctively remember hearing that name at some point in time. At some point when I was still within the education system. But I don't really remember too well anymore. Early modern? Yeah. You know, where is that? What is that name from? I don't remember, to be honest. I'm trying to remember. Hello there, fellow scientists. Hello. Hi. I'm more of a researcher than a scientist, but you could say I'm both, in a way. An unconventional scientist and researcher. Oh gosh, what was I thinking of? Oh yeah, history. Yeah. For reference, some of my favorite points in time in history, as in like to learn about, I'll admit, are the Victorian era, the Wild West, and sort of, I guess, honestly, I guess sort of, I guess sort of medieval times are also pretty dandy. I'll admit that. Who got shot, which sparked World War One? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not really much of a World War historian. I have a friend who is. I have a friend who could probably answer every question that has to do with, that. I'm not that person. I just sort of know random trivia about different time periods. Just random trivia about different things. Like for example, the whole how Australia was basically just a dumping ground for Britain, and then somehow that became Australia. I know that. Not much, but I know that. Medieval Europe is one of my favorites. Yeah. Castles and knights and all of that thing. There's a whole lot more to it. Like the Black Plague. I remember that. I remember the Black Plague now that I think about it. I remember being in the education system and learning about the Black Plague. I remember that. Also the potato famine. Did that happen in the medieval? No. I'm going to sound very ignorant. I'm going to sound very ignorant. I acknowledge that. Did the potato famine happen in the medieval times, or did that happen later? But by the way, I'm sure thumbs. Oh, yeah. See, he knows. If I can't answer, odds are one of my degenerates could probably answer it. Could probably answer it. What was I going on about now? Yeah, one of you briefly mentioned astronomy. You know, that's pretty interesting. Looking up at the stars and all of that. Looking up at all the quasars and stuff. Dude, speaking of, speaking of space and all of that, that's actually one of my favorite things are quasars. The most powerful thing in the entire universe. Imagine it. Imagine being the most powerful thing in the entire universe. That's a quasar. That's a quasar. I kind of briefly was going to make a video on quasars, but then I kind of realized there was way more to it than that. And I wanted to do it justice, so I kind of put it off for later. But quasars. Australia declared war on the emus and lost. The bird? When you say emu, are you talking about the bird? The bird that looks kind of like an ostrich, sort of. I kind of always imagine emus looking like ostriches. I could be wrong. Give me a moment. I need to look that up actually. Emu bird. Oh, it does look like an ostrich. It does look like an ostrich. How did they lose a fight against a giant? Well, actually, how tall is this bird? Actually, how tall is this bird? Emu bird. The emu is a species of flightless bird endemic to Australia, where it is the tallest native bird. The tallest native bird. Ooh. The emu is the second tallest bird in the world, only being exceeded in height by the ostrich. Individuals can reach up to 150 to 190 centimeters or 59 to 75 inches. 59 to 75 inches. 59 to 75 inches. I'm bad at math, so I'm having trouble. Actually, I'm terrible at math, so I'm kind of having trouble figuring out how long that is in my head. 59 to... But so I've seen an ostrich. If an ostrich is bigger, then that means... How did they lose to a tall bird? You could look up the elephant bird, sadly extinct, but they were like 10 feet tall. Really? I've never heard of that actually. Elephant bird. Extinct flightless birds. Elephant birds are extinct flightless birds that exist in the islands of Madagascar during the they were the largest birds known to science, standing more than 10 feet tall and weighing over 1,700 pounds. Ooh. Okay, I see. Oh, that is quite frightening. I can only that is probably Someone who's afraid of birds, that's probably their worst nightmare. Cause I know there's a fear, there's a phobia of birds. I forget what it's called. But no, that sounds like an absolute nightmare to someone who's afraid of birds. You know, but then I guess probably anyone that's afraid of anything big. What's that called? Megalophobia, I think it's called. I think anybody that has megalophobia will just naturally be afraid of any tall creature that looms over them. 10 foot is huge indeed. Yeah. Not just 10 feet, 1,700 pounds. 10 feet and 1,700 pounds. 1,700 pounds of bird. Imagine that. Golly gee. It was, it's kind of, what is it? You know what kind of, does anybody, do any of you have, like, that thing that I was talking, do any of you have that phobia, megalophobia? Are any of you afraid of very tall things? Because I'm not necessarily afraid of tall things. I don't have megalophobia, but I feel intimidated. I will admit. I'm only arachnophobic, but I've tried to make peace with spiders because they're pretty cool. Yeah. See, I'll admit, I'm afraid of spiders as well. I also have arachnophobia. It used to be pretty bad. It used to be pretty awful, in fact. But it's gotten better now that I've grown, now that I've kind of gotten a little older now, and a little bit more loony. I kind of am not as afraid of spiders anymore. But I still don't want any contact with them, and I know it's kind of a strange. I know spiders are helpful. I know spiders are by all means very, very good creatures, but why do they have to look like that? Why do they have to have those pincers? Why do they have to have so many eyes? I understand that they serve a purpose, but it's like, it just it makes chills go up my spine. But then again, most bugs do. See, I have, you see, arachnophobia was always one of those things that really dominated, what I was afraid of. To tell you that, when I was a child, I was afraid of Minecraft spiders. Yeah. I was afraid of the spiders in Minecraft, and I couldn't play Minecraft because of it. I couldn't play Minecraft because I was afraid of the spiders. Now I'm not afraid of Minecraft spiders. Now I can. And now I can actually play Minecraft, but sort of even when I was even another video games as a child, I couldn't actually play them if they had spiders, because it would be too much for me. I remember what was the name of that game? Dragon Age, I think. Dragon Age Origins, I think. I wanted to play that game. I also wanted to play Skyrim, but because both of those had spiders, and very realistic ones at that, I couldn't play them as a kid. As a child, I couldn't play them. When I was a child playing Minecraft, oh god, I feel ancient. Oh, yeah. I feel ancient. Yeah, that was many, many moons ago. That was more than a decade ago. Oh, that was more than a decade ago. What do you call it? What was I going? Oh yeah. But yeah, no. I couldn't play any game that had spiders in it for the longest time. I still can't for the most part. Unless, it's a very weird thing, unless I can convince my brain that they're crabs and not spiders, then it works. If I can convince my brain that I'm looking at a crab, then my arachnophobia doesn't trigger. I wonder why that is. but if I can convince it that it's a crab, then I'm fine. Oh yeah. And see, since we're on the topic of phobias, you know, I actually am afraid of most insects, most creepy crawlies, and most bugs. I'm kind of afraid of everything that kind of creeps and crawls. I'm afraid of even though spiders are arachnids, but I'm afraid of crickets. I'm afraid of crickets, beetles, centipedes, grasshoppers. Really anything that is really anything that's an insect. Don't even get me started on praying mantises. Those very especially if it's a female praying mantis, they have no reason to be as big as they are. They have no why do female praying mantises need to be so huge? Why do they need to be so big? What about reptiles? Reptiles are kind of fine for the most part. I mean, if they catch me by surprise, then that's a different story. I probably would be scared. If what do you call it? If I lived in Florida, or the bayou, and all of a sudden a crocodile or an alligator came out, then yeah, that'd be pretty scary. Same goes with like if a giant anaconda jumped out of nowhere. But honestly, I can look at snakes and crocodiles and alligators, and it's fine. They're alright. I love them. Good. I don't mind them. They're pretty alright. I just would prefer they wouldn't catch me off guard, catch me by surprise. Oh gosh, I just remembered. There's something else that I'm afraid of, and this one is kind of even more embarrassing. See, at least with the insects, most people are afraid of bugs, right? But with this one, most people aren't afraid of these, I feel. But for me, they just kind of give me the creepy crawlies. They make me feel unnerved, to put simply. I'm afraid of toads and frogs. Yeah, I know. I know it's kind of strange. Most people aren't afraid of that, but yeah, it's just the way they I hate to say it. I really hate to say it, because it's not like they can have a choice of how they look, but it's the way they look that just kind of gets me. Imagine living in Australia. Oh, no. Even though technically from what I hear, and from what I have researched, most of the dangerous creatures and all the very creepy crawly creatures, they're all in the north of Australia. Like, I think, what is it, like only about 30 or 40? Is it 30 or 40? Like 30 or 40 percent of Australia is actually has actually has people living in it for the most part. like all the north of Australia has no cities, from what I understand. Um, and that's entirely dominated by all the creatures that are there. I remember this one really I, I remember this one this one very scary looking moth that lives in Australia, that to, like, I guess attract mates for breeding, it kind of makes itself look really large, and it kind of looks very protrusive, but and it's not dangerous. It's not a poisonous moth even, I don't think, but it looks insane. It looks crazy. It looks ludicrous. Can't remember what it's called. One spider for all men. Femme or not to be afraid of. The Brazilian wandering spider. Oh, just the wandering spider. Oh no, I don't even want to look that one up. Oh, oh gosh, I just remember. You know what? You know what's even scarier? You know, all these things are scary to me, right? But, 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 when a creature can fly or jump, that only adds fuel to the fire. Is it, it is, but if it bites you, bad times for yeah. Bad times for me. Oh. Oh. Okay. 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 What is it? What? I guess, Golly, what is? There are some very scary spiders in Australia. But they're also scary a lot of things. Even if they're not, you know, there are a lot of scary things in Australia, even if they're not, I guess, conventionally scary. Like, for example, right? For example, let me, for example, do you know how scary a kangaroo is? Do you know? Kangaroos are scary. Have you seen how absolutely, for lack of a better word, ripped they are? I believe one kick from a kangaroo is enough to break the ribs of a human very easily, I might add. That's pretty scary. That's pretty scary. But you know what? At least, I guess they don't look like a spider, but still. Although dropkick you into the nether realm, kangaroos. Yeah. They would send you flying. Flying. All the way back to Bendigo. All the way back to Bendigo. You know, right, I guess they'll send you all the way back to Sydney. You know, Australia has some very funny, very you know, I want to say odd, but I feel that all the names that people would consider strange in Australia have some sort of meaning to them. Some sort of meaning to them. I don't remember any of them, but I remember that Australia has a lot of very unconventional names. Kangaroos are ripped by default. Yeah, it's pure muscle from what I understand. Actually, you know that are all of you familiar with that one meme that was going around I guess, social media and what have you. The 100 men versus one gorilla thing. You got, you know that, what would could a kangaroo be a gorilla? Genuine question. Could a kangaroo be a gorilla? But I recently learned of a particular snail that's tiny, but its venom is insane. It has the nickname of the cigarette snail because if it hits you with its venom, you have enough time to live to smoke a cigarette. That's crazy. Actually, it was starting to. It took a couple seconds to set in, but that. Wow, wow, wow. I'm guessing it doesn't look like a cigarette, but wow, wow. That's. I've never. The world is a scary place. The world is a very scary place. Humans might be pretty scary, but humans might be pretty scary. Animals, the animals of the animal kingdom are, even though technically humans are all animals also. But this world is scary. This world is quite frightening. I'm thinking, what do you call it? I'm thinking about kangaroo versus a gorilla. Who would win, realistically speaking? Because both of them are very strong. Both of them are very strong, though both of them have like two different techniques when it comes to dealing with combat. I feel if anything the gorilla might win, only because a gorilla can actually grab and grapple and throw. But a kangaroo can also kick. And a kangaroo is very strong in and of itself. I think the gorilla, yeah. Because I feel a gorilla is more versatile with the way that it attacks and all that. like a kangaroo is very strong, but a gorilla is more versatile, no? More versatile with all of the things that it can do. Yeah, I'm going to say gorilla. I'm going to say gorilla is going to win. Gorilla, obviously. But now, 100 kangaroos or one gorilla? Could 100 kangaroos be? Could 100 kangaroos be one gorilla? And that, I think in that case, the kangaroos would win. I think the gorilla doesn't stand a chance against 100 kangaroos. Kangaroos would have one good kick, but the gorilla would go in close and just pummel. Yeah, see that's the thing. That's where it has the advantage. That's one dead gorilla. Yeah. Yeah, that's one very dead gorilla. That gorilla is going to be. Oh golly. Oh, that. Oh my. The sheer destruction of that is palpable. What else? Oh, this has been quite a delightful talk about scary things that could kill us and also strike fear into us. And they all roam on the same land that we do, and that's the scary part. But you know where else there are these things that could kill us and scare us immensely? in the sea, in the ocean. You know, that's one thing that I'm afraid of is the ocean. I'll admit I have thalassophobia. I'll admit because the ocean is so immense, and it's just it's an immense almost it's you know, one of my worst fears, it's an irrational fear. It's an irrational fear, I'll admit that. But one of my worst fears is to be stranded in the ocean, because at that point you're just kind of you're kind of just floating in the void, so to speak, because you can't go up. I mean, you can't go up or down. You can only go forward and backwards, but there's technically nothing forward or backwards or all 360 degrees of you. There's nothing if you're stranded. So it's why, you know, what are the odds of you what are the odds of you well, actually no, there are plenty of people that have survived being stranded, but it's just the thought, you know, the thought, and then if you fall in, then you're dealing with everything that's down below, and depending on which ocean you're in, that could vary. You know, and it's quite a thing. Not only that, but it's also, I imagine people with megalophobia, again, it's probably a nightmare for them, because, you know, the ocean's so huge, and then there's huge creatures such as whales and colossal squids down there, which granted are very down below, and odds are as a human without any sort of submarine you're not getting down there, but still. I'm afraid of sharks, I'll admit it. Well, what kind though? See, there are lots of different sharks. What kind though? I mean, I like sharks. I like sharks a lot. I have a blowhigh, you know, the IKEA shark, and ever since then my love for sharks has grown. Do you know the meme, get rotated? Oh yeah. How allegedly, presumably, if you flip a shark, and rotate him, he just kind of stays there. Yeah, I'm familiar with that meme. I'm very familiar with that meme, actually. Yeah. I mean, realistically, then, in that case, why is anybody afraid of sharks? Just rotate them. They make it look so easy. No, but what kind of sharks are you afraid of, actually? Because I know the great white shark is one that everybody's afraid of. Even though honestly, I'm more intimidated by I'm more afraid of, like, maybe maybe a wait, what do you call it? I'm more afraid of, like, it's gonna sound silly, but it's more because of the size difference. I'm more afraid of a whale, I'll admit. You know, I remember as a child I always thought, what if you got swallowed by a whale? Because, I mean, whales don't eat humans, but whales are so huge that wouldn't it make sense if they just confuse a human for a shrimp or something, and they just gulp you, just vor you out of existence? Yeah. Wouldn't that, like, the thought of that strikes quite some fear into me. But yeah, no, sharks. There are some delightful sharks. There's lemon sharks. Lemon sharks are very, very tiny, actually, compared to, like, what you're probably used to, like a great white shark or a goblin shark. I remember as a child I used to like hammerhead sharks. Those were really fun. Understandable, but sharks might actually attack you, so I mean, yeah, Unless they're, like I said, unless they're a lemon shark. Unless they're a lemon shark, because lemon sharks aren't really that big. They're about the size of a shoe, I think. How big is a lemon shark? Let me look that up. Lemon shark. Lemon shark. It's a species. Wait. Or am I thinking of another shark? Actually, no, wait, this one looks like a big boy. this is a species of shark from the class of 3.4 meters. Actually, never mind, that's actually quite big. I'm thinking of another shark. What shark am I thinking of that's about... Unless, am I thinking of a lemon shark, but that's a baby? Am I thinking of a... Am I thinking of an... Am I... I think I'm thinking of a baby lemon shark. Sorry. When when are more videos coming? Chop researcher, what hang on, there's a process. There's a process that needs to happen, okay, for more videos to come out, okay? But, and honestly, I kind of am working on a video already as we speak, in fact. It's just going to need a few more days. It's going to need a few more days. It still has not finished cooking. It still has not finished being assembled, if you know what I mean. Small shirts are cute, okay? Big ones are also cute, but they might rip your limbs off, so that's not nice. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, you do make a valid point. You do make a valid point. You do make a valid point. You know, it's like electric eels. I remember for the longest time, electric eels kind of scared me because, electrocution has always scared me as well. I always kind of say I'm afraid of electricity because it hurts. I'm afraid of electricity because it hurts. So to have a creature that gives you that sensation, it's scary, okay? It's very scary. Actually, now that I think about it, are electric eels in salt water or fresh water? Now that I think about it. I'm not too sure, actually. The last time I saw an eel was the last time I saw an eel was an ocean dog. No, I'm gonna say they're salt water. Strange. Very strange. You know, but honestly, colossal squids strike immense fear into me. Even though the chance of me or any of you seeing a colossal squid in our lifetime is very low, but never impossible, but still very low. Technically, I remember this from a show I watched as a child. Technically, a colossal squid has an eye the size of a large pizza. So, with spinning hooks on their tentacles. I ate fried eel not too long ago. One less to be afraid. Was it? What did it taste like? Like, purely out of curiosity. And for research, what did it taste like, actually? I'm curious. What was the consistency of it? Was it slimy? How was it? What is it? What was I going on about? Oh yeah. Wait. No. Okay. So, you know, colossal squids are very scary, like as I said. No, I remember as a child, as a child, I'm starting. I remember as a child, and I used to always be afraid of one creature that always struck fear, um, was the kraken. You know, you know, just the thought of this immense creature, just coming out and just capable of taking down an entire ship, is was absolutely daunting to me and absolutely frightening. Um, I've been, it was absolutely frightening. um, and for there was a point where I actually thought that the Kraken was real. Um, but then obviously I found out that no, it doesn't real. Although, although, they do say that we know more about space than the ocean, so realistically speaking, hypothetically, there could by all means be a kraken down there, and we wouldn't even know. there could be. There could be. um, it was like the pulled pork of seafood. Hmm. 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 It was actually nice and tender. It fell apart. Most of the taste was from the sauce. Really, if I were blindfolded, it would have salmon or something. Ah. Okay. 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 How tantalizing. How absolutely riveting. I've had pulled pork before, so I'll just imagine that, but different. um, um, what is it? Hmm. I'm sorry if I lose my train of thought. It happens a lot. I'm very scatterbrained. Um, um, I wouldn't say I'm bird brain. That's a whole nother thing. I wouldn't say I'm bird brain. I'm scatterbrained. um, how, hmm. Oh yes, yeah. So for all we know, there could be a kraken down there. Because we technically know more about space than the ocean. But, now let's talk about fear of space. We've talked about land and we've talked about ocean. Now let's talk about space. Now let's talk about space. There's a fear of space, isn't there? There's a fear of space. Lobsters shed their exoskeleton and grow continuously, so it's possible there could be submarine-sized lobsters of some kind down there. That'd be pretty neat. Actually, I would be. I would like to see a lobster submarine. That'd be quite nice. That'd be quite sweet. Yeah, I want to see that. I also want to see underwater. I would also like to see underwater volcanoes because I heard those are down there. But but in an image, not in person. That would be heart attack inducing. That's same with going out into space, I suppose. There are a lot of people that are also afraid of going out into space as well. I forget what it's called. But there are people that are afraid of space. I know that. They're like the emptiness of it. I think it has to do with it. The emptiness of it, even like the fact that it's kind of basically just one big void. We are in space, isn't it crazy? Indeed we are. We are actually floating right now and spinning right now, actually. And not only are we floating and spinning, we're actually on a crash collision course with another galaxy. Isn't that amazing? The vacuum of space is scary. Yeah, Actually, it's very scary, but it's very fast. It's very scary, but it's very fascinating. I'll admit space. I'll admit. I'll, to do with space, my biggest fear is one of the potential ends of the universe. There is one of the potential ends of the universe. There are two scenarios that scare me: the Big Rip, or one more likely one, the Big Slurp. I've heard of the Big Rip before. I've heard of the Big Rip, but I don't really remember. I don't really remember what it's about, but I've heard it. I do remember that. You know, it kind of is like one of those things where it's like space is very easy to like, it's very easy to kind of have existential dread with space. That's the thing. It's very easy to kind of just feel, I guess, not empty per se, but kind of more like insignificant, I guess. I know, I maybe that plays into the fear of space. I'm not sure. Or being stuck there and having no way to solid ground. Yeah, I'll admit that is very frightening indeed. It's very you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's sort of like being stranded out in the ocean, yet 10 times worse, because not only are you away from any sort of landmass, you're away literally from the whole entirety of what you consider to be like important. Everybody you know and everything that you cherish is way far away. I don't find space weird. I guess it's like air to fish. I guess it's like air to a fish. You know, I've actually never really thought about it that way. You know what's one thing that kind of it's one thing that I remember doing a little bit of tiny hint of research. However, I'll admit it was a tiny little bit of research, and honestly, it was very what's the word? It was very I did a bit of research into it was very, let me be clear, it was very confusing. It was kind of like different theories for why aliens supposedly haven't made contact with Earth, and there was all kinds of different wild theories that have not really been proven, but they're theories, you know, like that one theory of that we exist too early on in space-time to really have any contact with aliens. We were too early. There's that one, and then there's also another one where we're like where it's a theory that humans and all of reality is being monitored by aliens and all that. It's some wild assumptions. Black holes are scary, but oddly, the bigger they are, the less threatening they are. That actually is true, huh? That actually is very true. Honestly, that is very true. And honestly, when you put it that way, it's honestly not that scary. Now, the thing that makes black holes, in part, quasars, those are scary. I mean, remember, the most powerful thing in the entire universe, a quasar? It's like, I find that so just like, I find that so mesmerizing in a way. Imagine being the most powerful thing in the entire universe. That's quite the title. I have something to say on alien theories. Everyone always asks, where are they? But it doesn't work like that. We also have to ask, when are they? Yeah, that's kind of what that one theory kind of proposed. And honestly, it was kind of interesting because I didn't really give it much thought, and then I kind of read a little bit more into that theory, and I kind of had that thought. I was like, what if we are too early? You know, what if what if we're kind of we showed up a little too early, you know, and the aliens aren't gonna come for like another 30,000 years into the future or something. And about Fermi paradox. Fermi paradox. You know, I had there's also this one other theory, also that kind of was equally as scary. And honestly, from what I've researched, it's not entirely impossible, but there still needs to be a lot of research conducted. And it's this theory that that supposedly the universe is ever expanding. I've said this, I believe, in my videos, and that the universe is kind of expanding like a deck of cards. It's kind of expanding infinitely and making up random combinations, you know, for that. And that's why there are kind of alternate universes where some things are similar, because eventually it's going to run out of combination. It's going to run out of combinations, and it's just going to start to repeat itself somewhat. There's kind of like this theory where eventually it's going to stop, and it's going to like revert back. It's going to like, the universe is going to instead shrink back into itself, back into before the Big Bang, and it's going to just destroy everything along with it. I know that. I know. Well, you know all these. Well, you know all those cool, super advanced ancient alien races in sci-fi? That's us, baby. I mean, in theory, yeah. I guess in theory, in theory, rivalries tend to accelerate the progression of technologies these days. Look at the Cold War and the space race. That is true. That's a fair point. Actually, yeah, that is. I hadn't given that much thought, actually. Oh man. Oh, golly gee. You know, this kind of actually, this kind of goes into like I guess, what do you call it? What's that one type of horror that H.P. Lovecraft is responsible for pioneering? What is it? Cosmic horror, I think. Like existential horror, I think it's called, and it has all to do with like things like that have to do with like space and existence things being not what they appear. I've recently kind of had a fascination with that. I've recently kind of wanted to kind of get into reading H.P. Lovecraft. I'll admit it. It's kind of like because I kind of do like what's the name of it? I kind of do like Junji Ito, right? I kind of do like Junji Ito's, you know, horror mangas and stuff, and I hear that's kind of existential horror or something, or you know, or some of them even cosmic horror. And so I kind of I've been getting very fascinated by cosmic horror. Yeah. I might start to read more into that. More research to being conducted. Maybe our universe is just a single bubble in a very huge fizzy drink, rising to the top and eventually pop. That seems feasible, actually. That seems feasible. I wish we could have come up with a better name for when our galaxy combines with Andromeda. What do you mean better name? Is there already a name established? Because I know the Andromeda galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy is going to collide in a couple it's going to eventually collide. But do they really already have a name for when that happens? Do they really already have a name for that? Milkdromeda? Milkdromeda. Milkdromeda. Really? Really? That was the best name they could come up with? Milkdromeda. That was the best name that they could come up with? Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying now. I understand clearly. And it's clearly evident. It's clearly evident. They didn't even try. They didn't even give an ounce of effort. They've probably literally spent 1 hour, one afternoon, on trying to come up with a name. They probably told this group of people to come up with a name, and they're like, we need a name for when Andromeda collides with the Milky Way galaxy. And they're like, okay, how about we take milk from Milky Way and Andromeda, combine those together, Milkdromeda. Boom. All right, fellas, good job. And then they left. Oh, definitely a better name could have been come up with. You know, something cool, something quite cool, something quite like something equally condescending. And something equally condescending but also cosmologically cool, like cool sounding, like me personally, if I had to name the Andromeda galaxy and combine with the Milky Way galaxy, I would name it something like probably something like Maqueza or something. Maqueza. Totally not ripped off of Rayquaza, the Pokemon. Isn't it interesting that in Star Wars there is only like 1 or 2 galaxies? Really? There's only 1 or 2 galaxies in Star Wars? Actually, I didn't know that. For those who don't know, I have a thing to admit. I'm sorry to all the people that are into Star Wars. I've never watched Star Wars because I was always as a young youthful child, I was always more into Star Trek than Star Wars and all that. I was more into Star Trek than Star Wars. Well, I don't think the human race will exist by then, so I suppose it doesn't matter. That's true, because that's like that's true, because at the rate that humanity is going, I don't think we're gonna live to see that. I don't think humanity's gonna be around when that actually happens. And technically, from what I hear anyway, we probably wouldn't even be able to enjoy the, like, allegedly, not allegedly, hypothetically, if we were to actually still be around when our two galaxies collided, we probably wouldn't even really live very long to enjoy it, because from what I hear, it's gonna cause a black hole and things like that. There is a unexplored but it's too dangerous to go there. It's called the unknown regions. Huh. Really? How interesting. I might I might do research on that later. That sounds very interesting. I need to make a note of that. I need to make a mental note of that. Yeah. Space. Isn't there, now that I think about it, isn't there also, since we're on the topic of space and whatnot, isn't there also another planet that is kind of similar to Earth? Kind of, but it's like bigger, and it's like in like the next galaxy over or something. Not the Andromeda, I don't think, but I could be wrong. And it has a very like odd name. Like they didn't name it something easy to remember. They named it something like E537G or something. Or something. Correction, there are billions of other galaxies, but story revolves around the galaxy. Oh, okay, I see. So what you're saying is, in Star Wars, there are many galaxies, but they're only really focused on 2. Okay, that makes sense, I suppose. Yeah, I'm trying to remember that, like, I'm trying to remember the name of that one planet that I forget what it's called, but it's like, oh, why am I mad? I'm trying to remember the name of that planet that I don't remember what it's called, but it's basically like Earth or something, and it's named something like 3715G or something. Look up ton 618. Ton 618. Ton 618. Ton 618. Ton 618 is a hyperfluminous broad absorption lined radio loud quasar. Oh, it's a quasar. It's a quasar. The nature of this object was unknown when it was first noted in 1957. Okay. Okay. Neat. I'm gonna make a mental note of that, because I do like knowing more about quasars. It's insane. I'll give it more of a read after stream, because I do like knowing about quasars and stuff like that. So I'll definitely give it a read. Oh, I have more research to conduct after this stream then. What do you call it? What do you call it? Yeah. There are lots of things. There are lots of things in space that are so fascinating. It's a black hole. Its event horizon is bigger than our solar system. Oh. Well, it is a quasar. So, it is a quasar, so it makes sense. But golly, imagine if humanity does immigrate to space. How would it go? In Legends of the Galactic Heroes, Earth became worshipped by some cult. You know, that is quite an interesting thing to consider. You know, I feel probably some sci-fi people have probably made books about how that would go. Not honestly, that would be pretty interesting to read, but it does make you wonder though. You know, I have a question. Since we're on the topic of space, it's a bit of a silly question, but it's a question that I have nonetheless. It's a bit of a silly question. What do you guys you degenerates do you guys have a favorite planet, or had a favorite planet? because as a child, my favorite planet was Saturn, but as a man, now as a man, my favorite as a big strong manly man, my favorite planet is Neptune. Yeah. My favorite planet is Neptune. The coldest of all the planets. Yeah. You know, I remember as a child I used to be upset that Pluto was no longer considered a planet. It was considered a dwarf planet. But for the longest time it was considered a planet. Pluto is cool, right? Right? It was considered a planet for many years, and then they were just like, "No, you're too small." They literally judged him based on his they literally just judged poor little Pluto on his size and said, "No, you're not big enough." It's like you're not one of the you're not big enough to be a big boy planet. You're a dwarf planet. If I good luck landing on Neptune. Oh no, see, that's the beauty of it. You can't. It's nothing but barren ice. Nothing but barren ice as far as the eyes can see. But it's a very pretty to look at from a distance. From a distance. From a distance. And it is my favorite. Venus, though. Ah, yes, Venus. Isn't she the gas giant? Isn't she? I could swear she was the gas giant. To be fair, there are multiple moons much bigger than Pluto. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, I guess, but yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah, it's just sort of more the fact that it was considered a planet, and then they just decided that it was too small. They were like, why did we make this a planet? Look how small, look how tiny and feeble it looks. No, it's no longer a planet. Venus is possibly habitual. Venus is possibly habitable in the upper atmosphere. Really? Is it? Wait. Then, what planet is the gas giant then? What planet is the gas giant? What planet is the gas giant? Unless is it Saturn? Wait a minute. Gas giant is a term. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are gas giants. I am quite dumb sometimes. Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn. Yeah, and apparently Uranus is also a gas giant, apparently. Oh, I forgot that it's a term. I forgot that it's a term for a planet, not a specific planet. Golly. You know, now that I think about it, what's like the planet that nobody really thinks about? Because I feel like everyone is quick to mention Saturn and Neptune, or actually maybe not even Neptune, but Saturn and Mars obviously, but probably what's like the most least remembered planet that nobody really remembers. I'm thinking about that. thank you for saying Uranus that way. Oh yeah, yeah. I was tempted, but technically, yeah. Technically, the real way to say it is Uranus and not, not, yeah, and not the other way. Not the other way of saying it. You know. um. Well, what is it? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, yes. But yeah, you know, this world is quite scary, but it's also quite fascinating, quite enthralling. I'll admit. So, what else? What else? I remember there was one thing I was going to talk about today, in particular, but I'm trying to remember what it was. It was, Oh, actually, I have a very interesting question. I have a very interesting question that I haven't really been able to ask anybody, really. Mainly because I kind of always forget. But, can you guys imagine, right? If humanity never evolved, do you guys ever think about do you guys ever think about if humanity never actually evolved? If the Industrial Revolution never happened, where would we be? Or if steam powered was actually ended up being the main, or if steam power, or if steam power actually dominated everything. Have you guys ever thought of that? Have you guys ever thought of that? Would we be living in a steampunk version of reality? Would the world basically be like a weird fantasy-esque thing? Not a fantasy-esque thing. I'm getting ahead of myself. But basically, sometimes I wonder how devolved we would be compared to now if the Industrial Revolution never happened. Or if steam power ended up being dominating everything. Steam power existed long before industrialization, but nobody put it together to make locomotives. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if instead of having the Industrial Revolution where there was coal powered locomotives and things like that, if instead we did steam powered. I wonder sometimes. It's a very interesting thought. And I guess that's what kind of led to the whole steampunk level of fiction, which some people are very into steampunk, in that I have a soft spot somewhat for steampunk, mainly because it kind of always, for some reason, although I guess it's because of the Industrial Revolution taking place in the Victorian era of London. For steampunk fiction always is Victorian era, and I guess it always takes place in with Victorian era themes, and I like that. I don't know if you'd know this, but technically for my model, I wanted a somewhat Victorian era theme to it, but combined with a bunch of other things. But basically, I like the Victorian era. Steam won't get us to the stars. I guess that's true. I guess we wouldn't have explored the moon otherwise. Or anything, really. It's a very interesting thought. Oh, you know, sometimes I wonder also. Sometimes I wonder also. Fun fact: Queen Victoria's underwear stuff sometimes goes on auction. Really? Really? It does? Huh. That's really? I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I'm somewhat appalled, but at the same time I'm kind of impressed, if anything, by the very strange act of that. You know, what is it? I'm going to be honest. I don't know any other queens aside from Queen Victoria, and well, Queen Elizabeth. But there was also, since we're on the topic of history in that, I do know of one other queen, Queen Bathory, right? She was one of them, right? Queen Bathory, the one who bathed in blood, to supposedly conserve her youth. That was one. But she's the Queen of England, though, or the Queen of I guess whatever Britain or the UK was back then at that point. Yeah. Nuclear power gets a bad rap, but in my opinion, it's better option than oil, etc. Actually, yeah. Actually, that's a very common misconception. Is that nuclear energy is bad? It's not bad per se. It's actually a very efficient and very clean power source, but the problem is if there is a meltdown, one small thing that goes wrong and everything goes bad. That's the problem. One small thing, one small miscalculation and everything goes bad. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like nuclear power is good. It's actually very good, but you have to know what you're doing. It's very, very much so. Otherwise, as I said, one wrong move and it all one wrong move and it all goes bad. Yeah, Chernobyl, yeah, and all that. So yeah, yeah, but that's the 80s. It's very safer and far more efficient. Yeah. It's just there's a lot of stigma around nuclear energy and all that. There's a lot of I guess people have the wrong idea, I guess. I'm a cold fusion enjoyer. What's cold fusion? What's cold fusion actually? Cold fusion. Okay, I'm looking at cold fusion. Cold fusion is a hypothesized type of nuclear reaction that would occur at or near room temperature. It would contrast starkly with the hot fusion. Oh. So as long as oil can be solid, it'll be suppressed. Oh, okay. Oh. Nice. People. When that. People name Fukushima when that disaster was caused by a natural disaster. Oh yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true. How absolutely enticing. How absolutely enticing. But nuclear power, though, yeah, unfortunately gets a bad rap. An earthquake and tsunami, yeah. Actually, um, you know, I have a question. I have another question. um, are you guys afraid of any particular natural disaster, or have you ever been afraid of any particular natural disaster? Um, for me, as a child, it was always tornadoes. Tornadoes. However, even though there are no tornadoes here, but just the sight of them, just the sight of them, just the sight of tornadoes, always, unnerved me as a child. They always unnerved me quite heavily. Though now, because tornadoes are basically non-existent here in the lab, if anything, the thing that kind of like the natural disaster that kind of scares me are, well, I guess earthquakes. I suppose those are pretty bad. You know, only an asteroid. I live in a boring country where nothing drastic happens. Really? Huh. That's, some people would be envious of that, but some people would be envious of that. And as for the asteroid, well, there's a very small chance that it will land there, but not impossible. Big fires are scary. Yeah. Forest fires and all that. Forest fires are pretty intimidating and unfortunate, and quite unfortunate. Yeah, for some reason, I always find it quite peculiar how there are many houses and things in very forest fiery places. Like there are many people that have houses in forest fire areas. In very heavy forest fire areas, and it's very confusing to me. It's very perplexing to me because I just wonder why, of all the places. My street is like 2 meters under sea level. Really? 2 meters under sea level? Huh. I'm very bad at math, so I'm kind of having trouble visualizing it. But I can't visualize it very well, but I understand what you mean. Wish I could visit Denmark also. Denmark is pretty. Denmark seems really nice. Yeah. The Danish. The Danish. Denmark. What is it? What do you call it? I'm very bad at geography, so I don't know where Denmark is. Like, I have a very rough idea of where it is, but I'm very bad at geography. I'm definitely not like. There's this one person I remember who I knew, where he knew all his geography. I don't know if he studied that thing by the Animaniacs, which honestly I should probably study that. That song by the Animaniacs where they go over all the different, all the different countries and states and what have you. I should definitely memorize that, just for funsies. And because I guess it's useful, I suppose it's useful. But there was this one person I remember that I knew that could name everything. Like he could name all of the countries and all the the United States. I remember that. I live in boring old England. I consider England as a tutorial island. Huh. I've always kind of England, I've always kind of wanted to visit, England, the big place in Britain but I've honestly would still be up for it, but later on, probably later on in the future, possibly, who knows. Check out the North Sea flood of 1953. Wait, alright. North Sea flood of 1953. North Sea flood of 1953. The North Sea flood of 1953 was the first flood in England and Scotland of the 20th century. It occurred on the night of January 31st, 1953, when a wall of water surged from the North Sea, overtopping sea defenses. Why am I crying? Why am I crying? And now I'm blushing. Oh, and now I'm blushing. Okay. Golly, I went through a flurry of emotions reading that. But okay, I see. Come visit me and be bored to tears. I mean, it can't be that bad, right? There's stuff to do in England, I'm sure. There's stuff to do in England, I'm sure. There has to be. Although I have heard less than flavorful things about English cooking and food, but honestly, that I'm sure it's fine. I'm a experimental person. I would be fine. 187,000 animals died. 9% of Dutch farmland flooded. Oh, Golly. I've actually never knew about that, but I've actually never knew about the Great Flood of 1953. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to research that later. All of you have given me a lot to research. But honestly, it's been fun. We went over so many things. We went over creatures and land. We went over creatures and phobias and the ocean, space. We basically and talked about nuclear energy and steam power and even a little bit of geography somewhat. Yeah. I do have a fun fact about where I live. Ooh, do tell. A fun fact about England. How wonderful. What is it? What do you call it? God, I was gonna say something else. Oh yeah. I always you wanna know kind of a very, I wouldn't say embarrassing fun fact, since we're on the topic of geography. But you want to know a somewhat strange but understandably strange fun fact. You know, I remember as a child, I wanted to go to Italy because I played way too much Assassin's Creed 2. I played way too much Assassin's Creed 2, and I wanted to climb in Italy. Yeah, I remember. I remember that was the thing. um, the father of who produced the Harley Davidson lived here. Huh. Really? Huh. The all-American bike. Neat. That's a neat. I did not know. That's a very neat fact. I did not know that. Gosh. Well, it's that's a very neat fact. But I think with that, I think with that, I think with that, I think I'm gonna, I think with that, I'm gonna call this a stream. I'm going to call this Nonsensical, which surprisingly had a lot of sense, jibber jabber session to a close. It was very fun. I hope you guys had fun too. I hope you guys enjoyed being here with me and talking about this with me, about all these absolutely fantastical things with me. I definitely have a lot to research now after this. I definitely have a lot to research after this. But I'm very glad. I'm very glad for you guys. For you degenerates, scientists, researchers, you guys to spend time with me. I hopefully we'll be back next week for another stream. Not sure what we'll do, but yeah, thank you so much, and get out there and research, and I'll do the same. Bye everybody. Bye degenerates, researchers, scientists, archivists, whatever you happen to be. Bye.